EU leaders came with the perfect answer to Israel's genocide in Gaza for the past 6 months. What's that answer? Sanctions on Iran, of course. So Reuters reported European Union leaders decided on Wednesday to step up sanctions against Iran after Tehran's missile and drone attack on Israel left world powers scrambling to prevent a wider conflict in the Middle East. The summit in Brussels is the first meeting of the EU's 27 national leaders since Saturday's attack, more than 6 months into the war between Israel and the Iran-backed Palestinian militant group Hamas. So if Iran attacks Israel, all of a sudden you have a very urgent meeting. 6 months into the war, that's when the attack came from Iran. 6 months into the war between Israel and the Iran-backed Palestinian militant group Hamas. Notice the terminology, of course, the war, not the genocide, because you're talking about almost two equal powers, right? Palestinians being occupied for the past 75 years, and Israel, peaceful little Israel, and the Iran-backed Palestinian militant group Hamas, disregarding, obviously, all of the genocide, over 33,000 people, innocent civilians killed, half of which children, a third women, destruction of everything civil in Gaza, every lifeline, hospitals, universities, bakeries, a blockade, people starving to death. It's a war between Israel and the Iranian-backed Hamas, as if they're doing something against Hamas, by the way. Hamas is controlling everything in Gaza, under the ground and over the ground. They continued, Israel has signaled it will retaliate, but has not said how. Retaliate for what? Iran made a perfectly legal response to an illegal attack against its consulate, embassy in Syria. That's protected by international law, by the UN. So why should Israel retaliate? Israel started it. It received a perfectly legal, well-calculated retaliation that was very sophisticated. What do you mean, retaliate? We feel it's very important to do everything to isolate Iran. Did they just commit a genocide? Why aren't you isolating Israel? Where's the logic? Where's the logic, ladies and gentlemen? And as if this sanction is going to be effective. They've been talking about sanctions against Iran and implementing sanctions against Iran for the past 2 decades now. They don't want a Middle Eastern country that is powerful, that has production, that doesn't bend to the corrupt international cartel led by the US and the EU. And the people in Iran, the baffling thing here is the people in Iran are joking about it. So we received a couple of reports from Iran, from reporters. People in the streets are saying there is no spot or street left in Iran not being sanctioned, under sanctions. Then there was an interesting statement from a senior Iranian diplomat named Ali Baqiri. Ali Baqiri, he had very close and intense meetings with military leaders in Iran that he revealed some of them to journalists. And he said some interesting feedback that he got from these military leaders. They told him, even if the West built a wall of sanctions around Iran, Iran is able to build its deterrence and military. And that's been evident ever since they started the sanctions against Iran. It's as if they're doing it for show purposes. Oil sanctions, Iran goes around it through third parties, through other countries, through Iraq, through other states. Their military industry, they already have other countries that they're aligned with and they have strategic relationships with. What are the sanctions? Exports. You have more than enough exports. The only thing you're doing is you're making a fool out of yourself. Doing this for a show and blatantly highlighting how much you're in support of a genocidal state. You haven't been able to take one step against a country committing genocide against the Palestinian people for the past half a year. And when Iran has a perfect retaliation to an illegal attack by international law, you start telling me about sanctions against Iran and you condemn it. And where was your condemnation about the tens of thousands of innocent people killed, about the destruction? These people are just highlighting exactly their mentality, their approach, and their full support and complicity in supporting Israel. Let's not undermine that. We talk about Israel committing this genocide. These people, the US, EU states, Britain, they're proving to the whole world that they're just as big of a part as Israel when it comes to genocide. Because enabling, supporting, or being quiet about a genocide makes you complicit. Day-to-day law, if you talk about someone going to murder or kill someone, there's a witness who was quiet, let alone supporting, was quiet. He saw what happened, but he didn't tell the court, for example. And then they find out that he knew, he had knowledge. He's complicit. He's complicit and he can get imprisoned. Yet when you talk about state level, it's as if these people are immune. So it just highlights the hypocrisy, really, and how complicit these EU states and Western powers with Israel in its genocide against the Palestinian people.